One of my money mentors is Rabbi Daniel Lapin, and he was even my keynote speaker on the very first edition of Financial Success Summit, our online virtual conference. And you can check out more on that here. What I like about him is his wisdom and his ancient Jewish wisdom specifically. And he recently put out some content and where he specifically noted that when it comes to the rise and fall of governments and powers, history has shown us that that period has consisted of around 250 years or so. And a significant shift is happening in the world, in the global space. And I believe that we are seeing the decline of the West, the decline of the Western powers of Europe, of North America. Rabbi Laffin specifically spoke about 1776. I think it was when the foundations of the United States was laid. And if we count from then, we're almost at that 250-year period. And that's not coincidental. We're seeing currently the rise of the East, the rise of China, the rise of India as global powerhouses. And let me demonstrate what this means. And I spoke about this specifically to my wealth insiders and to my clients in our quarterly investor forum. And I'm going to give you exclusive access just to that snippet where we spoke about the rise and fall of powers. So let's jump into that snippet of investor talk. The thing is the global power shift. Now imagine a world without the West. Imagine a world where there's the rise of the rest. And I want to bring your attention to the world in 2050. It's actually a report that was put together by PwC, Price Waterhouse Coopers. So this is the first one, China versus the United States in terms of GDP. Okay, billions of US dollars based on the exchange rate. But based on purchasing power, look where China is. India overtakes UK to be the fifth biggest economy. And you can see those little dots there are the projected trajectory. The next one is emerging markets. And this is from PwC again. And you see in 2016 how everybody's placed. Beige colors there are the G7, the gray ones are the E7. And by 2050, and these graphs here are the GDP by purchasing power. 2050, the purchasing power when ranking is going to be number one, China, number two, India. BRIC is there. BRICS is not there. How South Africa got into BRIC is beyond me, right? I don't know. Maybe they just needed the Africa included in there. But this is the US and Europe will lose ground to China and India. Okay, the global economic power shift will shift to the E7 economies. In 1995, the E7 were half the size of the G7. By 2015, the E7 were around the same size as the G7. And by 2040, the E7 could be double the size of the G7. Now, I want to talk to you about India a little bit. And the statistics are telling us that one in three in India will soon be or are already in the middle class. And there's been a massive rise of the middle class in India. A total population of the middle class rose from 14% in 2004, 2005 to 31% in 2025. And I think by in 2022, and by 2025, about 30% of the population is said to be in the middle class. Or is it 50%? I got to remember that statistic. So, who do you see over there? Well, whether you like basketball or not, you know that that big guy is Shaquille O'Neal. Next to him is what seems to be a midget. He's slightly taller than me, but that gives you an indication of how big Shaq really is. That little guy there is Ranveer Singh. Oh, Mr. Deepika Padukone. Okay, so Ranveer has been playing a very, very important role in the National Basketball League. He was recently appointed ambassador for the NBA last year, and he's seen dancing here with Shaquille O'Neal. His viral video went viral last month. Well, recently the NBA topped the $10 billion revenue for the first time ever this year. And its biggest competitor, the NFL, is far ahead from the NBA at the time. But the success of this league is based on one thing, and that is viewership. It recorded 96.4 million viewers watched the Super Bowl in the United States, and around 59 million people watched the NBA Finals in 2021. But when Ranveer joined the NBA as an endorser or an ambassador. He exposed 70 million of his followers on social media about the NBA. In fact, even Mr. Beast, he is one of the biggest YouTube content creators. He said in a recent interview that it would be stupid for any brand not to focus on India. The NBA has their own Twitter handle for India. They have a NBA Academy in India, and they even play preseason games in India. Okay, and all of this happens is because of that middle class market. Okay, that ever growing middle class market, and it's the same with China. It's just focused on India because I'm brown, but the same kind of patterns are being seen in Malaysia, in Korea, in Taiwan, in Vietnam, in China, as I have explained with India. In 2009, a year after the franchise owned cricket league launched the IPL, massive revenue. The IPL at that time was valued at around $67 million. All right. Recently, IPL has expanded. They've got about 10 clubs now. And the average value of each of those clubs is around $1 billion with an annualized growth rate of 24%. And it's the middle class that's feeding that. It's the middle class that are going to games. It's the middle class that are doing the betting. It's the middle class that are buying the branded shirts, the caps, the collector cards, the dolls, the digital gaming. It's the middle class that is doing all of that. By contrast, over the past 13 years, the growth rate has been 10% for NFL teams and 16% for NBA teams. The IPL is the most valuable franchise. Just the IPL alone, not the teams, is around 1.3 billion. The Mumbai Indians are worth more than six major league baseball teams, 27 National Hockey League teams, and every single major league soccer teams in the United States. And South Africa has recognized this. In January, we see the rise of SA20. And what happened there is a launch of a cricket league, which were all bought up by the Indian IPL franchises, and they're streaming into South Africa. Now, this is nothing new because we see other franchise teams in the Caribbean Cricket League. Shah Rukh Khan owns Trinbago Knight Riders. Now, I think he is with one of the local teams here. So we've seen an extension of that brand into South Africa, and it is very lucrative. So this is actually KSA's third attempt to start a sustainable franchise-based T20 league after the Global League. T20 failed to take off in 2007. The Mzansi Super League scrapped because if broadcast rights could not be sold for 3 years. The new T20 league is set to be a top priority for KSA. Shook the cricket world last week by deciding to forfeit a three-match one-day international series in Australia and risk South Africa's direct qualification for the 2023 World Cup to make space in the calendar for this tournament. That's how much money is involved here. And after this week's performance, I can understand why they're willing to take that risk. Okay, but the major win for KSA has been that an Indian broadcaster has bought up the rights, and this is where the money is in for this league to be broadcast in on Indian screens, because it's once Indian eyes are on watching anything, they will buy. Yeah. So the broadcaster of the IPL or the SA20 is also the owner of Mumbai Indians, and that company is called Viacom 18. And they also own a part of the league. It's going on. You can see how the money is just recycling here, right? And it's insane amounts of money, all happening with Reliance Industries, the Ambanis, Mumbai Indians, and it's a whole bunch of money just circling around. And finally, South Africa is getting a cut. I hope the politics doesn't mess it up, because they've signed $100 million US deal for a 10-year period. Yeah, so it's going to be exciting. The middle class is growing in India, and I want you to recognize it. I want you to take advantage of it. And we have a lot of these kind of investments. Now, I don't have investments into Mumbai Indians to offer you, but I want you to be able to recognize the opportunity that you need emerging market exposure in your portfolios, in your retirement. for your children's investments. The JSE is shrinking. 30 years ago, there were around 776 companies. Today, slightly above 300. It's not a good space to be in. We're 1% of the global growth, of the global economics in the world. You don't want all of your money exposed here, especially with the shrinking JSE. You want to get a piece of the E7, and I'm happy to plan for you, to get it for you in the most tax efficient, low cost manager, low cost fee way possible. So if you're ready for that, reach out and we can chat. So here it is. This is the reason I believe that the East is going to be the place to be, going to be the place to hold your money, going to be the place to track in terms of investments. If you want exposure to India, to China, and the emerging markets in your retirement, in your tax-free investment, in your kids' education, in your overall general wealth building portfolios, reach out. I'll be happy to help.